the Sacramento Kings hosting. They're the home court team in a series against the Golden State Warriors. The key to this series, guys, is that the Sacramento Kings have the best offense in NBA history. And the Golden State Warriors have played like doo-doo on the road. And they've got to go into Sacramento and deal with that crowd and summon their defense. And I absolutely believe in the Warriors.
I want to, but I just the Warriors are going to have some putting lineups on the floor that work challenges. The Warriors are going to have to be very dependent on Kevon Looney being able to stay on the floor. I think that you can't, like, whatever you want to say about Domantas Sabonis, you can't guard him with the small. Like, Draymond can guard him, sure, but you can't guard him with the small because he's one of the strongest players in the league, and he'll just put smaller guys in the basket. So it's got to be Looney, it's got to be Draymond, and that's a worry point for Golden State in terms of their lack of depth, in terms of beef. The other side is, like, Sacramento's good enough offensively that can Golden State play Curry, Poole, Thompson lineups and not just get completely lit up on the other end? Can they get away with that? That's something that in some series last year there were some hiders on the other team, like Denver in the first round without any perimeter guys. Okay, Jordan Poole has to guard Austin Rivers. Okay, that's not going to be the case against this Sacramento team. So I think that there's some real lineup challenges. And that's before we get into the issue of reintegrating Andrew Wiggins back into in a playoff setting. They've been playing without him for 2 months, and that's gonna be at least odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Seth, we fell in this trap last year. Last year they had a guy who didn't play until the playoffs, and then we fell into that trap. I think it's a little bit different with Wiggins and Steph Curry, but I think the scenario there is, I think Wiggins will be fine because they don't need him to do that much. And this is kind of a series where he can listen. He's got a tough assignment defensively, but he doesn't have to carry a load offensively and things like that. I think that's one of those things they can kind of ease him into it with what they're going. Listen, Sacramento's had the most amazing offense all season, and it's what we talk about every time we get in the playoffs. In the playoffs, it gets very difficult. Golden State has watched several hours of film at this point of Sacramento's offense. They've decided where they want to attack, how they're going to attack it defensively, and things like that. The real question for Sacramento is, what's plan B? What's plan C? Because they're going to take away plan A, and that's what the playoffs is. What's your backup plans? That's why I always value offensive versatility. Their game is so heavy DHO dependent. What happens when those catches get pushed out above the 3-point line? Because that's going to happen. They're going to have games where they blow up offensively. They're going to have runs offensively. But this game right now is, how does Sacramento counter when Golden State's defense steps up and takes away stuff that they want to do? And I don't know if I have the answer for that. And I'll be very curious to see what Sacramento does in that instance.
Well, let's start with what it looks like in a Warriors win, right? Like, I mean, if the Warriors win, the Warriors could win this in 5. They're the champs. And if they're at full health, which it seems like that they are, I think they should be the better team. This is a team that is better than its record for sure. They had a really weird season, but they could win this in 5 games if they just go out and play like the Warriors. If they defend at a top 5 level and they have a top 5 sort of offense, I think that this series is actually easy for them, because I don't think the Kings can defend the Warriors the way that the Warriors are capable of defending the Kings. I just don't think the Kings have a defensive ceiling like the Warriors have. When everything's locked in, you get Andrew Wiggins back, Gary Payton is back and reintegrated into what they do. Everyone's kind of been bumped down a spot. And you mentioned, can you play Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson? You may not have to. This might be a huge Dante DiVincenzo series, actually, because what he's done for them offensively, plug and play, and then he brings it on the defensive end. So what does a Warriors win look like to you guys?
Well, I think just they cruise offensively. I think you touched on it with Sacramento's defense. just Sacramento's inability to get consecutive stops is what worries me a ton in playoff series and things like that. And it's more just eye test because I don't have the numbers. Thanks, because nobody ever listens to me and gives me the kill stats that I want. But the just the pure fact of like I watched their game against Milwaukee a couple, I think it was in March, and they were winning most of that game. And then Milwaukee at the end turned it on offensively, and Sacramento couldn't get consecutive stops. They couldn't string stops together, and that's such a weakness for them in that scenario. They have such a high octane offense, but if you give it all back on defense, what's the point? And I think that's really where the challenge lies for them with what they do. And Golden State takes advantage of that and steps up defensively. I think this is a not as close a series. This is one of those series where we're going to call it an upset just because it's 3-6, but I don't think it's going to feel like one. I think everybody's picking the Warriors.
Seth, you feel about the same?
Yeah, I think that Sacramento's defense, I've all year, I think their defense has been a little bit better than their from a structural standpoint than their underlying numbers. Unfortunately, the kind of they've kind of been hit by the opponent shot making stick. Unfortunately, look who they're playing against. So it like the you know, not to look ahead, if they are able to win and then play Memphis in the second round, that's a much better matchup for what their defense kind of allows slash forces teams into. So that's you know, like as Mo said, like I am not as sure that the Warriors are going to be able to, you know, get Sacramento out of their stuff. I just might not matter because the Warriors might put up 125 offensive rating for the series.
Yeah, reintegrating Andrew Wiggins will be pretty easy compared to Steph Curry last year. And a lot of that, I think, is Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson has just been so good, and especially the second half of the season, he just looks healthy. So it's a little bit less demand on Wiggins for this playoff run, in my opinion. They won't need him to create as much. They won't need his shooting as much. So, you know, when we're worried about Wiggins kind of working his way back in, I think they've got a little bit of a buffer that they didn't have last season because of Klay Thompson and how good he's been. Seth just disappeared on us. I think he's going to come back. Mo, what is a
He might have just took a dip in the pool.
I mean,
he might have
maybe,
gotten too hot and took a dip in the pool.
He's on vacation. So Mo, what does a Kings win look like? I mean, is it just the matter of Warriors offense gets a little clunky and they just can't figure out how to defend?
Yeah, I think the starting point for the Kings is the Warriors are not able to stop them offensively. And I think that's a big part of it. And the other side of it is they get up and down a lot. They push the tempo in terms of pushing the pace. De'Aaron Fox, John Morant might be the fastest player in the league, but De'Aaron Fox is right behind him. It's like the Flash racing the other Flash. I don't know my comic book DC stuff.
A-Train.
Anyways, A-Train, thank you. But I think it's along those lines of that. And I think that's kind of, he's super quick. Can they push the pace and really fly up the courts? I think that's going to be the thing that matters the most. It's going to be if they can control the tempo of the game and play at a much faster pace, it plays in their favor. And it allows them to not have to play against a set defense, really attack and get a lot of easy buckets. That's how I think Sacramento wins this series, is by playing faster, which is something we always talk about in the playoffs. You can't play fast. They're going to try to prove you can.
And I mean, take advantage of their youth too. I do not think that, you know, Golden State's main guys want to sprint up and down the court for 48 minutes. I think they can play that way in spurts, but I don't think they want to play that way for 48 minutes. The other thing I would say for Sacramento is you were talking about them being able to put Golden State being able to push the DHO game out past the 3-point line. You're shoving Domantas Sabonis off the elbow. That's happening. That's something.
Well, they're going to pick them up so early. I just think that they're going to pick those guys up at the 3-point line.
Yeah. But Sabonis can, like, I think that's, you know, I think that Sacramento is, you're right. At times they will be able to, but I think Sacramento is going to, part of the reason why that action is so hard to guard is Sabonis can get where he wants to go because big, strong man.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
but so's
Warriors are
Kevon
also
Looney.
going to make
Like
the Warriors are also going to force him to go right. They're going to force him to shoot right, and that's going to be a thing. I mean, the playoffs. We know the playoffs are just a different beast. The guys go harder, and they are more hyper focused on the scouting report. And I think Sabonis is a guy who, yeah, he's got a lot of strengths. I have him third team All NBA center. He had a great year, but the Warriors are going to go after your weaknesses, and that's all you're going to have left. So can he score going right? Can he pass going right? Can he make the same read dribbling off of it with his right hand and getting at the basket? So those are the questions I want to see, in game one. I want to see them answered because that's what they're going to play. That being said, I think it's a huge Malik Monk series. You mentioned Jordan Poole. Well, Malik Monk's going to be out there a lot of the time that Jordan Poole is, and he's going to attack Jordan Poole. I mean, Malik Monk could go for 30 a game in this series. I could see that happening very easily. He is just super. I mean, he's like TNT and just ready to explode at any time. And the Warriors bench, that defense that's not the defense that we're used to seeing out of the Warriors. So, Draymond, I want to see what his minutes look like, how much time they can get him out there with the bench. You mentioned the Warriors' lack of size. And how, they need Looney because of Sabonis. They just don't have anybody else beyond Looney and Draymond. So, if they're going to match up with Sabonis and some of the size that the Kings can put in the interior, I mean, Alex Len is fine, right? Like, he's not a great player, but he's big. You can't teach big. So I just wonder if that interior size is going to bother the Warriors. They're just so small.
I'm probably not as concerned about it because I think it's just going to be a Looney and Draymond kind of rotating on Sabonis in that instance, and I think Kerr will probably stagger those guys a bit, take one out early, have the other guy guard Sabonis, then kind of keep rotating them in. Foul trouble can be a concern with those in that instance with everything that they have, but I also think, listen, we didn't talk about much, but Jonathan Kuminga is really important for this team for the Warriors defensively and what he can do. And I think, put him in on Fox, have him chase Fox around for a while. And that length really makes up for some of the speed deficiency there. He's quick and athletic, and that long ass arm is going to get in there and get in between the dribble handoffs and things like that. I think that's a really, really important player for the Warriors in this series is Jonathan Kuminga, and it's mainly on the defensive end. And if he can kind of be an important factor on that end and really matter and muck things up, it gets difficult then.
Yeah, he's also big.
But
he's also big and can.
Yeah, but that's a guy. But I was just about to say that's a guy Sabonis will push around though.
Oh yeah,
that's a guy I would be careful about putting on Sabonis.
Yeah, but I like him on Fox. I like that idea because he can actually put pressure, like just again by being big, using his body. If he gets into Fox's hips, it's gonna be hard for him to turn a corner. I like that, Mo.
No, this is. I'm glad we got onto Fox because we're making a short list of the guys with the most to prove this playoffs, and it's of guys we'll talk about today. It's Nikola Jokic, obviously, Joel Embiid in the East. I think De'Aaron Fox has to be on that list somewhere, and this is going to be a really interesting challenge for him in his first playoff because of the how many different guys that types of guys that Golden State can throw at him. They can you can put DiVincenzo. Gary Payton has had great success last year as kind of a ball hawking guard. You go a little bit more size with Klay Thompson at times, and then as you say, go even bigger with Kuminga or even Draymond Green. Just a lot of different looks that Fox is going to be shown and have to kind of navigate to really. This is his first chance to really show. Is he just a pretty good player, or is he kind of that next level up?
And they're going to make him shoot. Also, they are going to make him prove that he can hit open shots. They are not. I mean, that's the story of the Warriors is pretty disrespectful when it comes to guys who maybe are iffy from deep. So I think he's going to have to hit some shots in order for them to win this. But that I cannot wait for that series. That series is going to be electric. It is going to be so much fun. I hope Fox has a huge series, even if they don't win. I'd like to see him kind of go off. Not a lot of players in the league that are more fun to watch, and especially just he's so damn fast. It's just incredibly fast.